Welcome to the cabin. Today we're doing part 4 in the Be'lakor series. If you haven't watched the previous videos, click right here. That being said, let's get to it. So last time we finished the wing membranes. I wanted to finish another big area of the model next, so I decided to paint his skin, starting from a black base like I planned from the previous video. I needed to paint the skeletal parts of his wings with Abaddon black, and here you can see the difference. Since I already undercoated his body in Chaos Black, that part was all set to go. I started by layering on Baraknar Burgundy. I tried to feather out this color on the largest flat areas to make sure it blended into the black parts. Using a slightly damp brush, I simply went back and forth at the edge of the area I had just painted, fading it out towards the black. Where necessary, I did some cleanup work with Abaddon Black and Nuln Oil to re-establish the shadows. Next up, I used Xeraeus Purple to put on another layer. Again, I used the feathering technique on the largest flat areas. Now it was time to bring out some brighter highlights. I used a 50-50 mix of Warp Fiend Grey and Decala Lilac as the next layer. Since this is much brighter than the previous layers, I tried to wet blend this color into the previous layer of Xeraeus Purple. I added a little airbrush flow improver just like I did on the wing membranes and mixed the colors to create a transition. On the smaller areas, I used Xeraeus Purple as kind of a weak wash and then reapplied the highlight mix, this time even more selectively. The final highlight was a 60-40 mix of Slaanesh Grey and Pallid Witch Flesh. I tried to keep this one even smaller and more selective. To bring all the colors together, I used a glaze or a filter with Shyish Purple contrast paint. This is an extremely strong paint, so I diluted it with contrast medium about 1 part paint to 20 parts medium. After the skin was done, I decided to paint the base. This was such a breath of fresh air after having spent a lot of time and effort on the wings and the skin. My plan was to do this quite quickly, using mostly dry brushing for the rocks on the base. I started with the Mechanicus Standard Grey undercoat and proceeded to do some stippling using Skaven Blight Dinge. Using a slightly damp dry brush from Artist Opus, I dabbed on the paint in random patterns. Using the same technique, I applied some Storm Vermin fur directly after. This created some randomness in the coloration of the stone. As the first highlight, I used Dawnstone and dry brushed this on most of the rocks. Next up, I did another pass, this time with Administratum Grape, keeping it a little more selective and towards the upper parts where the light would hit the most. Lastly, I used Grey Sear and kept it mostly to the edges as a final highlight. To create even more random patches of colors, I did some selective glazes of Creed Camo diluted with a lot of contrast medium. And then the same thing using Agaros Dunes. This could represent some sort of plant growth like moss, or just general discoloration from the environment. The last step was to give all of the rocks an overall glaze with basilicanum grey, again diluted with a lot of contrast medium, just to bring everything together. While I was at it, I painted the sand on the base as well, starting with a base coat of Abaddon Black. I wanted the sand to have a different hue to the rocks, so I dry brushed it with Ashen Grey, just using an older brush this time. Next up, I dry brushed the texture with Dawnstone. And for the final dry brush, I used Administratum Grey just to make it pop. And there we have it. The 3 largest areas on the model are now complete. I'm really happy to be done with the wings and the skin, as they took many hours to finish, a lot more than I thought it would. What is left now are all the details, like the metallics, horns and claws, skulls, etc. But that will have to wait for part 5. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing if you want to join me as I finish this project, and if you found this video useful, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a like. I'll see you again next time. Good luck with your miniatures.